I want you to listen very carefully to Catherine Austin Fitts, and I want her to go back over the information she just laid on us and expand on it. They get you dependent on government. They take your pension funds, your investment, your tax money for the infrastructure. They put it in offshore banks and derivatives. That bankrupts people by design. Then they come back and say we need even more money and more taxes to prop all this up. And when you hear it's for the geopolitical purposes of the U.S. and England and Europe, that's the private banking arms. They're feeding on us, but they get us tied into their system where we can't live with it or without it. And now it's coming towards a consolidation phase. They're going to use phony environmentalism to bring in a form of neo-serfdom or feudalism to control our lives. And now they're showing their true hand, ordering the pension funds to give their money to the private banks. And Catherine Austin Fitts, this is a short segment, but please elaborate on the point that you were making.
Oh, now, Alex, you got me. I had just finished making the point about the red button and the extent to which we are financially dependent on global warfare. So we're implementing warfare globally, whether with military warfare, with covert operations warfare, or increasingly now with this financial warfare. And the reality as a system is most Americans are the financial beneficiary of this sort of geopolitical warfare and the fact that our currency is very subsidized. And the red button story is a story I tell where I ask an audience of people who will push the red button if it'll stop all hard narcotics traffic in their community tomorrow. And out of an audience of 100 spiritually committed people to evolving our society spiritually, 99 said they would not push the red button because they don't want their mutual funds to go down or the government checks to stop. So we now have an entire society which is financially complicit in this warfare model. And so the question for all of us is, nobody wants the top guys to push the red button because they're afraid. And as long as we're afraid to push the red button or to engage in a conversation about, okay, how do we turn it green? How do we make it financially attractive? Then what happens is we go along. And I can say it's they, that they are doing this. But the reality is, Alex, that we are supporting them. If you look at the implementation of all of this sort of police state things, those things are being supported at the local level. I mean, I've watched all these things get implemented time after time after time, and it's, there's always a group of local people who are helping promote it. It's frightening. And so, but they're doing it because it makes them money.
But to boil it down, we're coming to the end. The banks know they've pumped up the Ponzi scheme to such a level that they're now preparing to rob whatever wealth we've got left. And you talked about how the elites for the last decade have been leaving the United States. And now
they're not coming to the end, because if you look at the wealth that this planet can create and harvest, the amount of wealth that's been created and can be harvested to date is tiny compared to what you could do in the next 20 or 30 years. So they've just, this is far, we're on a journey, and the wealth that can be created is far more than exists to date or has.
Well, Catherine, you misunderstand. Hold on. You misunderstand what I'm saying.
Okay.
They are artificially cutting the avenues of wealth off to independent groups and smaller organizations and vertically integrating it and saying they want to cut wealth generation off to people in the West. I know they got us addicted.
Right. In North America, their attitude is, listen, if you all just sit down, shut up, we put an implant on you and you live on $600 of government subsidy a month, it'll make it much easier for us to manage the planet. You've created a huge amount of wealth. We just stole it all. You're going to be real unhappy about that, so we just want you to sit in the corner and shut up because, we're on to the next thing. Bye.
And what is the next thing? What is the next thing?
Well, the next thing is they go to a global economy and a global government. In other words, the people managing this in the United States don't see themselves as Americans anymore. They see themselves as globalists. And they're managing to a global operation. And in fact, if you look at where their big investments are in space. So in fact, they're not necessarily even looking at planet Earth as the 100% base of operations. But they have fantastic new technology, and they have a global framework. And their attitude is, we've moved on, you're left behind, and the question is how to manage the end game.
I agree. Now, when we come back with Catherine Austin Fitts, I want you to elaborate on what their end game is. And we were talking during the last break. You were saying there are ways to stop this. We want to get your perspective on that. Catherine Austin Fitts is our guest. We really appreciate her being on the radio broadcast with us today. We'll give you her website as well when we come back after this quick break. This is the GCN Radio Network. We're talking about reality here. Not the baseball game, not the latest cosmetics, not acting cool to your neighbors, but life and death, freedom and slavery.